Professor Lutfan, could you tell us, or could you explain Chinese policy toward the Iranian issue and toward Syria?
Well, if you look at the actual conduct of China in the United Nations Security Council, China has followed the Russian lead. Or to put it differently, they've allowed the Russians to take the anti-liberal position, the anti-whatever position, the pro-rogue state position, and China has défilé, it has just stood behind the Russians, allowed the Russians to take the heat for it, and they have not. And the reason is that China has a built-in interest in opposing interventionism. China does not want to legitimize interventionism because they are vulnerable to it in regard to things like Tibet and so on. Therefore, they take the anti-interventionist position, but fortunately, because of domestic politics in Russia itself, the Russians are eager to take the lead and to be noisy about it. So the Chinese go along and vote for them in the same way, but they have the same interest. The government of China does not believe in the overthrow of dictatorships by the people, okay? So when there's the people on one side and dictatorships on the other, they believe that the world should not intervene, so they oppose it, and they're always lucky because they have the Russians willing to take that position loudly, and they do it quietly. But China is many things, as Yuri Pines pointed out, many different things. One of those things is the China Insurance Company. The Chinese insurance companies have now stopped insuring cargoes, oil cargoes from Iran, okay? And the Chinese insurance companies will not insure a ship bringing weapons from a Russian port to Syria, okay? So they say, listen, this is business and we won't insure it. So the fact that there are many Chinas does mean that you will have Chinese positions on different sides of issues quite often. And that is a pattern that is increasing. That is, the pattern in China is increasing decentralization, and with decentralization there come a variety of positions, including in regard to Iran. So at this moment, the Indian position on Iran in regard to oil imports is much more unfavorable, if you like, than the Chinese one, because both sides are opposed sanctions against Iran. But in the Indian case, what you have, you don't have any interest group in the Indian system that is willing to act on its own to block it. The one, of course, important exception was that Iran used to import a lot of its gasoline from India, from the Indian refineries, and the Indian oil company providing this gasoline stopped supplying Iran because of the interests in the West. So, this is... don't expect to see any change in that regard.
Naftali Moser, we heard some comments about the amount of innovation in China, business innovation. So my question is, if we can hear a little bit about Chinese universities, to what extent, let's hear something about applied research at Chinese universities and whether the researchers would like to commercialize that research.
Okay, I'm not here very clearly. I try. University have a platform we call platform. It's if the professor do a research in a lab, and then this platform will be help them to apply the patent, and then we have the information announcement, and then maybe a company interesting about this, they can negotiation. Maybe if you buy, they can pay some money to university, and then we transfer the technology to the company. And our professor hope company to continue to do this until they are finish their products. Now all university have those kind of platform, and we are not very long time to do this. This is maybe just 20 years. We need to more time to help our professor to do this. In the first 10 years, maybe like Beijing University have the founder group. Our professor found this technology, and then they organize a company, and then become a manager to do the business. And not a long time to do this, and then he came back to do research. Right now, the professor don't do company directly. He just do research. May I answer your question? I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Pai maybe and Dr. Longban, your statement of Pai that you feel that China differs from the West, and the fact that it would sort of be confined pursuing national interests. The West would be missionary and liberalism and maybe some values, ethics, pluralism and so forth. One important issue that seems to be of great concern, maybe primarily through the United States media, maybe organized through certain groups, to say is significant military buildup in China, which probably is the most or least discussed relatively jumping around, because it suggests that there are clear intentions from China to become a power broker, not only in the region, but maybe even far from there. I'd like to have your opinion and Dr. Russell from the United States perspective of where that is going and how that issue, in addition to the Korean sponsorship of China, can be of great concern beyond economy and any other.
While China does not have any global ambitions in terms of its military power, it does have regional ambitions. If you are China, you look around your neighborhood and you see the American bases around you, you see American aircraft carriers going around you without any worries. If you're the Chinese military, you say, I want to end this. I want to make sure that when the Americans if they want to fight China, they have to think twice, three times. So that's the Chinese strategy. They want to create a situation where the US will have to at least take into account China's national interests, which would be territorial integrity, Taiwan, South China Sea. But because of this consideration, there is now a military competition between China and the US. China would develop these weapon systems and the Americans would develop countermeasures. And this is now a very dangerous dynamic in the East Asian region.
Hello, I want to make some comment. First of all, as we all know, today's topic...
I just wanted to answer that question. This is actually the saddest story of all. This is really sad because it involves all of humanity, which is the inability to learn the simplest thing from history, okay? China's economy has been expanding at 9–10% per year. Now it's slowing down, 8, 7, 5, whatever. It's still expanding very fast. When your economy expands so fast, you have the money or the means to acquire more military power. If you do acquire military power, you will be punished very severely. You will not be rewarded, you'll be punished. Because if you expand, imagine it's a very fat man entering an elevator, okay? This elevator, and this fat man is getting fatter 9% per year, okay? In the elevator, there is already an even fatter man. That's America, which is aggressive and loud, but everybody is used to him in the elevator for 30 years. The new guy, as soon as the new guy shows a little pistol like this, everybody jumps on him. Between 2008 and today, Chinese relations with Japan have been ruined over Senkaku stupid islands of no value to anybody. The relations with Philippines have been ruined. Relations with Vietnam, which historically were bad, have been ruined. The whole quarrel with India over Arunachal Pradesh has been revived from nothing. Revived, you understand? Just decisions made by three guys reviving a whole quarrel over territory. So if you put Japan, Vietnam, and India together, they have more people than China. They have more wealth than China and more technology than China. That is not counting possible friends of these three countries, such as Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, or whatever. No, Fiji is on the Chinese side, sorry. and the United States. And the United States. If you add the United States to Japan, Vietnam, and India, then the balance and so on. So the lesson is this. If your economy is expanding, your universities are expanding, your hotels are wonderful, your restaurants are great, your infrastructure is expanding, your military must shrink. It's against common sense. I know that. It's against logic. It's against the sense of rights. You know, it's my right and so on. But if you exercise that right, the world punishes you. And there was once a country called Germany, and in 1890, the Germans had the best industry, the best universities. By 1914, the Deutsche Bank was the world's greatest bank, and so on. And the only thing is, they wanted to build a navy. They wanted to build a navy. That's all it took. As soon as they wanted to build a navy, the British sat with the French, with the Russians, and the Germans were isolated. Okay? You cannot build a navy if you are expanding so fast economically, scientifically, and culturally. You have to have not a navy. If you have not a navy, then you become influential in the whole world. And everybody loves you in Japan, in India, and so on. If you build a navy, everybody's against you. But it's against common sense. Common sense is if you're richer, you should be stronger. And all you have to do is to follow this common sense, and you end up like Germany. And that is what's happening, and it's very sad for those of us who have been involved with China many years and have many friends in China, that this repeating the stupid mistake. Can't you repeat a more clever mistake than that? You know.
Professor Luttwak, I have just a very small comment on you. You are right in many respects, but in Chinese history there were two great dynasties, the Tang Dynasty and the Song Dynasty. The Tang Dynasty became rich, became engaged in manifold wars, and collapsed. The Song Dynasty became very rich, it tried to avoid all the wars, and then also collapsed, was conquered actually. So sometimes you never know. In the short term, you may gain here, and in the long term, lose there. It is unfortunately impossible to make a right decision in the long term.
Okay, we now take, please, the last two questions.
Last
two questions, because I think we have to close.
Okay,
yes?
I want to make one comment.
Yes.
First of all, today's topic is what's the secret of Asia's success, and we talk a lot about China. So I mean, China is now the main focus of this seminar. So I think this shows the strength of China. And I want to make one comment that Tibet has been ruled by China, has been part of China for over 2,000 years. And if you don't know this, I can give you some books about it. And second of all,
sir, I would urge you. Yeah, I think.
Don't enter this. Please don't enter this discussion, because it's not the topic of the panel.
Okay. And second of all, I want to make a comment that China, with regard to its economic regime, now China is a member of WTO member. So I want to say that if you have any dispute with China in terms of economic development and economic regime, we can solve that problem and issues.
Nobody said we have any dispute.
Yeah, I want to make some comment, okay. Through the WTO mechanism. And thirdly, I know that there are some social problems in China, as we do in Israel. But you know, in Israel we have tent protests, and this goes very well. And the government have issued many decisions with regarding to the cause of the people. And in China, we also have such mechanism to understand the social problems and to make some solutions for it. So these are the basic comments I want to tell you. And I think that now we are here, we are in Israel. We are here, we feel very safe, and we don't use security to protect our embassy.
Okay.
So I think this is one of the best periods.
Okay, I think thank you very much and welcome to Israel. Yes. So I please the last question, and we have to close the panel.
Okay, since I have the microphone, I would like to tell something to Professor Mr. If you want to know what the next leadership of China will do, I think you should read. There's something called 5 years plan, and I know that a lot of it's really companies. Supercom is really companies. They are reading the 5 years plan, and they are making money from it. They are finding ideas from it. So I recommend.
Wow.
Sorry, are you from the Chinese embassy?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just tell you. Okay. Serious people, intelligent people, don't pay any attention to what the Chinese government says.
Okay,
I think rather than giving anybody books, you should persuade Tibetans to remain within your fold.
Sorry, I know you would love to discuss all these very important subjects, but if you want, I am giving the last word to Professor Bhushpan, and I will close the panel because we had.
I quite agree with this gentleman. I came here for friendly. I'm not come here for. Debate the problem. Maybe it is already be a common knowledge. If you are just ask those questions, ask me answer. So if you speak Chinese, I can answer in Chinese. My English is not so fluently. This is not equal for me.
Thank you, all the members of the panel. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, that you participated. And the best thing is that we left so many questions unanswered and that everybody got a lot of things to think about. Our guests from abroad, our guests from Israel, thank you very much. Have a good time.
Thanks. Can we have a round of applause to Tatiana, please?